platformer tutorial series. So far we have created a Mario style game, if you don't know what platformer is, which we have some failing to make sure that we can't just make it too easy, next level sequences, and gravity and collision. So we need to make it a bit more have a goal to play. Now you can do this by either adding more levels, or or you can add, like I'm going to do, some enemies and collectibles. So I'm not gonna bore you, so let's continue this video. Collectibles. First thing what you want to do is go to create a new sprite. Now I am going to be just creating something simple so that this video won't be too boring. But if you want to make it more sophisticated, then just go ahead and pause the video. Next, what you want to do is go to the code selection of this sprite and get a few when green flag clicked. For my example, it's 3, but I'm actually just going to bring 4th just in case. Next, get 2 forever loops from here and create a new variable called score. What a variable is, it's some information that can be stored for the program to use later on. Now, if you want more information about variables, then don't forget that I have actually created a video on variables, but they're Python, and with programming, variables are basically the same thing on each side. So make sure you check that out. Next, set the score variable to 0. This is very important, as we don't want, for example, our score to be 6 million after every time we play. So, for example, if I would remove that, let me just remove it real quick to show what will happen. What will actually happen is my score just goes to 3, 4, 5, and there isn't actually 5 collectibles. Next, when I press the green flag again, it also goes to 6 again. Next, if you get this, and if you keep playing it, eventually you would reach like 6 million if you played it that many times. So we can stop that from happening using a set score block. Next, get an if statement. These are very used in programming. And get an if touching sprite 2 from the sending section. What this does is checks if it's actually touching the player. So you then get change score by 1 and hide. If I would just quickly do that, you might realize, well, it just hides, and then if I press the green flag clicked again, it also hides, and it doesn't really do anything. Now, mind you, it won't actually show again once if it did that. So yeah, let me just take that out. What will happen to you is, if it was in one place, then it doesn't show again. Well, we can fix this by getting a show and make it get a go to then the coordinates you want it to be. Now, this is still gonna be a few bugs with this, like it still doesn't show, but we can change that by getting a when next level is received and then make it show. So let's test that out. But however, it does show, but it's going to be a little hard to access. Now I'm actually going to keep it there for that level because it gives it a bit more challenge. So let me just take that out. Yeah, you won't have this code, but I am just going to put it in real quick. So now I've just also edited my game, because a key part of programming is see if there's any changes you want to add and then try to add them. So let's try this out. So far, we have made this show and changed the score. Next, what we want to do is, if you've realized something, it stays in the same place for every level. So how can we fix that? Well, use another of the forever loops that I asked you to bring out earlier. Put it in a when I receive the win. You can always change the messages by doing this. get 3 if statements. Actually, get 1 if statement. You don't have this, but I'm just actually pre-made the code because it's a lot of code to remember. Get an if equal from here. Write a 2, for example, if it's the level 2, and make it go to sensing. Select one of these. This part is a bit confusing if I don't do it as well, because you'll be like, where is that? I can't find it. Well, we can find it by selecting one of the backdrop of stage, changing the stage to Sprite 1 or whatever you call the map, and get the costume hashtag. Now put that in there and then duplicate it. However, every level you want, change the coordinates to fit the place where you want it to be. For my example, I have 3 levels. Now, the reason you shouldn't put it on like 1, 2, 3 is because costume 1 is a dot, and in the previous video we made it never actually show. So that we can, make sure that that bugs don't happen, it's better to make it 2 instead of a 1. So let's try this out. We can actually collect them now. And that's a simple collectible, but they aren't really essential, as if I just skip this one. Actually, couldn't skip it, but if you would theoretically skip one, then it wouldn't actually do anything. I'm just going to skip this one. I can still win. See? Well, change this by... Actually, what we're going to do is go to the map sprite, duplicate this, and replace the costume if costume equals with a score variable. And if score equals 2, also go to the operators, get end, put that in there, level equal. Actually, sorry, my bad. I'm just gonna edit that, okay? Get a when I receive message, change that to win. Then go to broadcast fail if score equals 2. Now let's just test that out. Next, what we want to do, test it. See, now we need to actually collect it, but it also isn't actually making this show. So let's fix that by going to the collectible sprite, making a when I receive, pull that out, go to this, broadcast, instead of broadcasting failed, broadcast a new message which is called show. I'm just going to call it show, press enter and go to this and select show. Next, go to the looks and get a show. So let's test that out. So far this game is working as we want it to be. Next, that works. But also, if we actually don't collect the collectibles, as some people are actually going to try with these games, is... Wait, that's a glitch. It should actually take you back. So, test that out. Wait, sorry about this part. It's a bit annoying, I know. So it actually won't let you win. And so far what we have made is make it so that you have to collect the collectibles. Now, next week we want to add some enemies. You might have noticed is that it still displays the win screen even if you haven't collected all the collectibles. Well, how can we fix this, you may ask? Well, first thing what you need to do is make a new variable, which I'm going to call A, as I already done here, and create an if statement in the if for equals costume sprite or whatever your last level is called. Next, get the coordinates and put it inside that if statement so that it looks something like this. Next, go to the map sprite and go to the when I receive win. Next, what you need to do is take your already if score equals 2 if you've already done that, and get a set A to 1. What this does is, if I just display A real quick, as you can see here, this is A. If it's equal to 2 and I receive win, if for example this didn't exist, I'm just going to do that real quick. If for a split second you can see that it actually sets A to 1. Now I'm just going to show this again. Get an if statement, and this is a bit the simpler part. Just put an if statement in between the show and when I receive win. And get an operator so that if score equals 3, then it shows. So let's test that out. Now keep in mind yours will be a bit different. If score, for example, is 3, it actually shows. However, if score is actually not equal to 3, I'm saying actually like 10 million times, it won't actually show. Next, what else you need to do is also go to the map and put a bit more broadcast. For example, broadcast failed, which makes this player restart, and also create a new broadcast message called show. You can do this by just pressing this button. Next, then what you need to do is go to the collectible sprites. The reason I'm making it say show is because I want it to be more challenging. If you put it in a really easy place to get, and if they skip the one, then they'll just go to that level and do it. Make it go to somewhere which is a bit harder to actually get. So we can do this by, first of all, getting an if statement, an operator which an equal, an a variable from here, and combine all that to have this if statement and make it go to the coordinates where you want it to go. Next, get a when I receive show from, as you can see here. Then go to the coordinates you want it to go when it's when you want it to be harder to get. There we go. Now, if we test everything out so far, if we skip this one, for example, and we go to this one, it actually takes us to the start of this level, and the collectible moves somewhere else. All things are easier said than done. For example, creating a 3D game, gravity, and although it might seem like it's a bit hard to do, enemies are actually pretty easy to add to a platformer game. So let's add some. First thing you want to do is duplicate the collectible sprite and delete every single block that other than these. And other than these 20 blocks. Now, you are going to have to edit this because it's like score if touching the player, then change the score. And also just quickly draw something other than this circle, which I have done this little block. Now, like I said in all my previous tutorials, feel free to make this more sophisticated. I don't want to bore you by just doing art, as this is not an art tutorial. So let's keep on playing. Next, even though it just stays there, we can go through it. And next thing you want to do is make it go to the coordinates where you want it to go. I'm going to leave that there. However, for this one, I'm actually going to change it a bit. And I'm going to make it, let me just take this out and put it here. Also remove the if a statement so that it just goes there. Next, I'm just going to drag that here. go to the motion selection and pick the coordinates for the 1. For some reason this is glitching. Oh, sorry, it's actually not glitching, it's actually giving the right coordinates. Sometimes it won't give you, but it actually just quickly changed. And now we have the enemy where we want it to be. How can we edit it? Well, like I said, it's not actually that hard to make. Just go to this if statement. If level, for example, if it's level 1, then I'm going to make it change x by, I'm just going to do 1. Repeat that a few times. I'm just going to actually have to make a bit more. Actually, just going to make it repeat more. Next. Actually, just take this and put it here. Just move that. And if it's, duplicate this and make it so that I'm just going to take this out. Take all the coordinates out of your main one. And if I put that there, now as you can see here, it's actually changing it. Next, what we want to do is get another if statement. Although this might seem a bit complicated, well, it's actually pretty, you're not going to make a really good game without actually having to go into any detail, but it's not too hard to make. So get an if x, I'm just going to change that a bit real quick. Just press that -1. Wait, I'm just going to make it go to the coordinates I wanted to go. If we do that, change it. I'm going to change it by 2 so that's a bit faster. Actually, sorry. I keep accidentally pressing it too much. I know it's a bit annoying, but just, there we go. If x position is equal to 130, again, if it would an else statement, if it's equal to 130, then make it go back a few steps. So let's test that out. Duplicate this and make it go -2 steps. So let's test that out real quick. As you can see here, if I made the movement a bit bigger, then it would have the bigger range. We can just quickly do that by changing it to 20 instead of 10. But if it, actually also forgot to say something, make it go to the place at the start. So now, as you can see here, it's moving right back and forwards like it's a stormtrooper taking a patrol. Now, like I'm going to do a video on how to make your platformer a bit better. So if we can do that by, if for example making a theme, so that the game has a bit more purpose. Now that's a bit of a weird glitch. I recommend you do like small steps. For example, 20 or 30, because as you go bigger, then it's actually going to create some annoying glitches. So for example, in my case, I'm going to have to leave it to 20. Now, as you can see here, if we move the collectible, it would have been a bit harder, but now we actually have to try and jump over this in the right place. Now, you can make it a bit slower or faster, but just make sure that you put the right numbers for the loop. However, it's actually still moving. And if we touch it, it doesn't affect us by anything. So let's fix that. Sorry, I just actually moved these around. Change that to 1, that's -1. Sorry. So I'm just going to leave it to 2. -2. Well, the next part of the enemy is actually really simple. We need to make it so that if it's touching the player, then make it broadcast the fail sequence. So let's just test that out. Now I'm going to have to move it a bit because that's a bit too hard to go past. But I'm not going to make you bored. Next, get another forever loop or just put it into here. Get an if it's touching Sprite 2, then broadcast failed. Now if it touches us, look what happens. It makes us go to the beginning. We still have our collectible, so don't worry about if you think you're gonna be annoyed because you lost a collectible. We still actually have it, but it just makes the game a bit more hard to play. And although you can make it harder or easier, just make sure that it's fun. Next, to make a bit not like just constantly moving in the same places, let's make it go up and down as well. Well, this is also pretty simple. Just duplicate that, and however, instead of making it change X position, make it change the Y. So let's just test that out. -Y and 2, and let's just find somewhere where we want it to go. Next, I'm just going to broadcast next level quickly. Now it's actually going to be going up and down. However, we need to build a condition so that it just doesn't really just go there up. So let's stop it. Yeah, that's about the maximum wants to go. That's why I'm just gonna do Y 90. If Y is 90, sometimes it's gonna actually go up even though you don't want it to go. Oh wait, that's a bit weird. I'm actually gonna change it to if Y is bigger than 89. So let's play. There we go. I'm just going to make it actually change it from 89 to something a bit lower. For example, 49. And that's still too high. So I'm just going to change it to 9. And it's still. Now, I'm not going to try and make you bored with changing all these numbers. So to save you some time, just make sure that you put the right numbers for your enemies. And just keep doing that for every level you have. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more tutorial series. And if you want to make your platformer a little bit less generic, as there's like 10 million platformers on Scratch, then make sure to watch the next video I'm going to create, which is on how to make your platformer less